Welcome, Neil, to the Care PR Marketing Podcast. Great to have you here. So, why don't you start off, Neil, by telling our listeners who you are and what you do?
Okay, thanks, Adam. It's great to be here. Great to join you finally. I'm Neil Russell. I'm chairman of PJ Care. PJ Care are specialist neurological care providers. We look after mainly younger adults with clues in the title, neurological conditions, whether it be a progressive condition such as Huntington's disease or young onset dementia, or something like an acquired or traumatic brain injury, or complex medical issues. We look after people with tracheostomies, peg feeds, and we do some rehab as well. So we're quite good at getting people back on their feet and home again when it's possible to do so.
Yeah, that's great. And I love your LinkedIn headline. It's the best family-owned specialist care provider in the world. Is that it?
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are 100% family owned. Business was started by my mum. Obviously, we opened 20 years ago. She gave me the keys about 4 years ago. She's retired to care for grandchildren. Thanks, Mum.
Always good.
Yeah, and so it's and it is a proper family business. It's something we really focus on. You know, we extend that to the staff as well.
Yeah.
I actually had a member of staff introduce me to a new nurse who's only been with us a short time. She introduced, "This is our father." She introduced me as.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
a true family name that's been embedded. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the vision and the culture you have at PJ Care, because I know that's massively strong. But right, so what we're going to be talking about today is two things about when specialist care providers think about PR marketing, what is it that they should be wanting to have achieved by their PR marketing?
Okay.
Then following on that, what kind of things that they should be doing. And then also, we'll also be looking at what it means to lead a successful specialist care operator. So why don't we start off then, Neil, by me giving this very open question. What, for you, does PR and marketing mean for a specialist care provider, and what do you want to see it achieve?
Okay, I think the key is in the specialists. Because we are very specialist in it, people will come to us, and people come to us with their needs. Most are coming through CCGs. Most of our residents come through CCGs and referrals that way. We have very little in terms of referrals from families or local authorities. So in terms of advertising to sell beds, it doesn't work because we're advertising to the wrong people. So the work in filling beds is done on a more networking basis, making sure that we talk to people, and we attract. We're based in Milton Keynes, Peter. We attract from all over the country, all over the world actually, but mainly from all over the UK, because there is nowhere else for our residents to go. So in terms of what we need in terms of PR and marketing, it's got to be focused on kind of particular areas. So we could, and we have been guilty in the past of kind of the kind of machine gun spread of PR and just putting everything out there, and to be honest, it's a waste of money. We don't get any return from it. But if you focus it on a particular area, and for us over the last couple of years, particularly since we've been working with you, is our recruitment, which is an issue across the industry, and being able to focus all of our PR on making PJ Care more attractive to new recruits, making the towns we live in more attractive to new recruits, because we're bringing people from further afield, and identifying those kind of particular areas and focusing on those, I think has been a key part of the success we've had. Right, and it's it's very, very clear. The number of applicants we've had for new positions has probably quadrupled over the last 2 years, because we're talking to the right people, we're in the right places, and we're saying the right things as well. So it's like I say, it's identifying those particular areas. Going forwards, we'll be looking at doing similar stuff with training, so we can push training out, but making sure we're talking to the right people about it and putting it in the right place. The other side of it, which is kind of the PR side, is being able to get into the right places to tell our story and put the right information into place. So we did a lot sort of in the build up to the mandatory vaccination and what we're doing about mandatory vaccination and our concerns about it. And despite the fact we didn't get the result we wanted, that work was very successful. And there's been a lot of coverage identifying the problems that we've said are going to happen. So whilst that's not going to necessarily fill beds, it helps raise an issue that needs to be addressed.
Sure. And what about what about importance do you have on, like you kind of touched on it, on promoting PJ as an employer, as a place to work, that seems is coming across as an attractive place to work? I'm just thinking of, certainly you are, we can move on to that in a moment, but who you're aiming to attract, which is predominantly carers, healthcare assistants and nurses, and then you've obviously got your specialist niche vacancies. But it seems to me that you have made this kind of quite a priority for you, is making sure that as many people that locally in your regions know that actually you are a wonderful place to work, Paul.
I think it's important. Care homes, whilst we are a specialist care provider, the challenges our staff face are very different. So it's the work our nurses do, for example, is much closer to what they would be doing in a hospital than they would in a kind of vanilla care provider. So we're testing their skills to a greater degree. But one of the issues we have is that the care industry is seen as somewhere to go to retire. So nurses will come into care because they don't want to work very hard, or because they want an easy life before they retire, and that's what the sector's seen as amongst a lot of nurses, particularly those working in the NHS. Obviously, the NHS is seen as this is when they leave university, a nurse wants to go and work in a hospital on the front line, and going into a care home is seen as a retrograde step. And being able to address that and say, actually, no, PJ Care is going to test your skills, and not only that, you're going to learn new skills. So forget about actually becoming de-skilled. We have to upskill our nurses, and so they understand that, and understand that this is a good career step, and getting sort of getting that across for carers, particularly now with the mandatory vaccination coming in. We want people to come into the industry, so we want people to know that it's a good place to work. They're going to be cared for as much as they're caring for our residents. So making sure that people understand the we are in the top 10 of healthcare companies to work for. We're actually the top care home, according to the Best Companies survey. We're the highest rated care home in that survey. So it's getting that, being able to tell people that that we won the Care Employer of the Year with the Great British Care Awards, that we're finalists in the Growing Business Awards. We've got Our apprentices are winning awards for the work we're doing with apprenticeships.
Yeah.
So sort of across the board. So making sure everybody knows that, and that we pay the living wage.
Yeah.
The real living wage, not just the national minimum wage. That the benefits we supply are, they're as good as they are anywhere else.
Yeah.
And getting that message out, so people don't think of it as a bad place to go. When you're bringing new people in, they're not just looking at us. They're also, we're not just competing with the care home down the road. We're not competing with Bupa and Barchester and all the others, and we're competing with Weatherspoons and Tesco's, Amazon, and people, and so being able to actually get the message across. This is better than working in those places.
Yeah.
And you'll be you'll be more fulfilled and equally rewarded. At least equally rewarded.
I mean, certainly the amount of material and positive affirmations, all those messages directly from your staff, is certainly something that we've noticed. So how for those listening, when we say making sure people know I mean, obviously we're working for you, so we kind of I know the answers to this, but I'm curious from your perspective, what for you are those important outlets where you are reaching those people with those messages?
Well, it's getting into the right places. So obviously, we've massively increased our use of Facebook, and using Facebook as a tool, and that's made a huge amount. I'm seeing 4, 5, 6 hits a day from people applying or showing interest in applying for positions with us, just through Facebook alone. And then using the more professional areas, sort of LinkedIn and Twitter, to get to the more professional areas. So when we're talking about nurses, there's a lot more nurses on LinkedIn. We're not going to attract, or we're unlikely to attract many healthcare assistants using LinkedIn. It's not that kind of platform. But Instagram and Facebook and everything, yes, we've got an opportunity there. But also, we've been getting onto local radio to talk about some of the things we're doing. One of the first hits we had at the beginning of the pandemic was Look East came in to talk to us about PPE and what we were doing, and and that was thanks to the work that your team had done for us. And we were talking about at that point we were just approaching our peak of 120 staff in isolation, huge number to try and deal with. And we spoke about that on the program, that we were offering temporary contracts, and we were inundated. We actually had to get some extra people into the recruitment team to deal with the response from that 3-minute slot on the local news. And we've got all the schools that have closed down coming around and dropping off PPE for us, saying we don't need this, we're not going to be able to use it, please have it. So the success, there was an immediate success just from one small article on local news that ostensibly was about what kind of PPE we're using in care homes, but just getting that presence and people.
I remember that it was one of the stories around PPE. It was also how you went above and beyond to get the right PPE equipment. I mean, it was like literally above and beyond, and that message went out. And during COVID, a lot of providers did step back because they were, quite rightly scared. But there were so many wonderful stories coming out during COVID, and I think you demonstrated how you absolutely were making sure all those wonderful stories about you as an employer, as much as quality of care, was I think you were just getting noticed spectacularly because of that.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, and any airtime is an opportunity. You know, I try and a lot of the radio interviews we've done, I'm always trying to finish. They thank me, and so and I finish off well. It's don't thank me, thank my incredible team
Mm.
who are doing all the work, and an opportunity to say thank you to the staff and demonstrate how important we think our staff are. Well, one of the mantras we use is, the most important people in PJ Care um, are um, are the staff who are providing the care. So they're the healthcare assistants, and it's not me, it's not the board. We're the least important people. We just sit here and kind of steer the ship. The people who are actually shoveling the coal in the bunkers downstairs are the people who are keeping the ship running and keeping it going in the direction. In fact, we don't even steer the ship. We just tell them what direction to steer it in. Yeah, realistically. So it's the most important people are the guys on the floor who are doing the work, and be able to share that message widely. People look at us and it's like, yeah, no, that sounds like a good place to work.
Mm.
And as a result of that, we had accountants and taxi drivers who were out of work or furloughed, been made redundant, coming to work for us during the peak of the pandemic, and a lot of them stayed and
Mm.
changed careers. So like from accountancy to care,
Mm.
huge career change, huge change of direction, because they're getting more out of it.
Mm. Mm.
And they kind of, they're in a position where they couldn't do anything else. They heard about us, knew what we were doing because of the PR that we were able to do and put the message out.
Mm.
They come along and they're now working in a completely different area that they're finding so much more rewarding
Mm.
than sitting in a dark office banging away on a computer.
Yeah.
And I think that's the life you and I have.
I know, sadly, yes. So that's great. So what about, 'cause I know nurses is very important to you. It's always difficult to get nurses for reasons, some of the reasons you just outlined, but certainly that's been important for you about in the PR marketing to try and attract nurses. How have you gone about that?
Well, it's again, it's getting the message out to the right people. Previous our previous recruitment teams have relied heavily on agencies, and we're paying £10,000-12,000 for a nurse that's only going to stay 6 months
Mm.
because they're not the right nurse, and it's getting the right message out. So we're finding the right nurse. As I said just now, it's not a it's not a retirement job coming to PJK. It's proper nursing, using all of their nursing skills and needing to learn new nursing skills in a lot of cases. So being able to find the staff, the nurses that want to do that is really important. So nurses are coming in because they want to learn new skills, because they want to continue to nurse at a high level, and that it takes longer. It takes a lot longer. There are a few nurses out there. Everybody knows there's a massive nursing shortage, and thanks to Nigel Farage and David Cameron, there's even fewer available now. But we are continuing to attract nurses, and I was talking to a new nurse Monday, who's just joined us. She's come out of forensic mental health to come to us, and she's we've attracted her because we're saying the right thing. She doesn't want to de-skill.
Right,
She wants to use all of her skills. So she's looking around and has found, this looks like somewhere I can go to where I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to have a challenging job and I'm going to enjoy it. And she was saying to me that she's found it really quite challenging because of how much she's had to learn on top of her, the skills and experience she's got. She's been a nurse for 11 years, still finding new stuff and absolutely loving it.
Mm.
As a result of that, and that's the kind of people we're trying to attract. And it's getting into the right places and getting the right message. It's not just saying, "Hi, we're PJ Care, come and work for us." It's saying, "Hi, we're PJ Care. and you're going to find working for us challenging. You're going to find working for us fulfilling and rewarding, and you're going to find yourself, enjoying life and being more fulfilled if you come and work for us, and getting that message out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
That's great, Neil. Fabulous. Thank you. So let's move on to the second element, which is 20 years you've been at the helm. Well, the close at the helm you are now, but certainly near the helm for 20 years.
Yeah.
Tell me everything. What if I was to ask you, how do you lead a successful care operator? So let's be clear. How many employees do you have at the moment?
Just under 600.
You've got 600 employees. You've got 3 very key services in 2 Milton Keynes and 1 in Peterborough. So flagship is in Peterborough. What does it mean, and how do you lead a successful care operator?
I start off with the kind of the welcome I give people on their induction. So I say welcome to the family, which is and we kind of build on that. Our ethos: we are here to provide the best quality care for a group of people that the majority of other care homes aren't set up to deliver, and they can't meet their needs for no other reason than they're not designed to meet their needs. We're designed to meet the needs of the people we care for. And in order to provide the best quality care, you need the best quality people. So if you look after those people, you'll keep them. So we start off with ensuring we've got the right people in. We make sure they've got the right skills. So we focus a lot on recruitment and training. So kind of first 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months, we want them to be a part of the family and feel they belong, and feel that they're cared for, and be happy. If somebody's happy and comes to work because they want to come to work, they're going to work twice as hard as somebody who comes to work because they have to come to work.
Sure.
And if they come, and then they'll do a better job. They'll look after the residents better. The residents will have a better quality of life, and then we've achieved our aims. And
how did you do it? How did you do that?
You care, I think. I make myself very approachable to staff. So I talk to the staff. I try and learn what I can about them. You can't. There's too nice. You've got to be hard when it's necessary to be hard. Don't let people get away with stuff because you want to be nice to your staff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got to try and understand them. Our staff, we've got 44 different languages spoken. There's probably about 50 different nationalities. They come from all over the world. They come from different cultures, different heritages. They think in different ways because of the way they were brought up. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can have the same background and think in different ways and take a different approach to life. And it's understanding that everyone is an individual and has a different approach. So getting to know those individuals and what their approach is, and then showing them how they can use their individuality to benefit the residents, which benefits them. Helps us. All our residents are individuals. They're all treated as individuals. So we do the same with the staff. And you care for them. You take a bit of time to, if somebody's got an issue, stand in the corridor and listen to them for 5 minutes. Take it away. And I don't necessarily have to deal with everything myself, but what I need to do is to give it to somebody else so they get a response. Somebody's and to be able to respond. One of the key, I think, benefits we have is the fact we are family owned. So we don't have the pound of flesh that we've got to carve out every month to pay investors or whatever. We've got, you know, all of our it's bank financing. So, you know, we've got to meet the bank's needs. We have to make a profit. We have to achieve certain levels of turnover. But it's not as much as if we were fully funded by investment houses and kind of the faceless suits, if you like, that are kind of sit above a lot of homes, a lot of companies. You know, I'm the majority shareholder. I will still walk around the unit. I will still get involved in personal care with the residents if it's needed, and I think that makes a big difference. Having that sort of personal touch.
Yeah,
we've grown very slowly. 20 years, and we've only got 180 beds, and a lot of providers would think, "Oh, that's ridiculously slow growth," but it's deliberate. You know, we're just about to start another expansion and do some more building, but the growth has been deliberately slow because the focus has been on the quality of what we do rather than the quantity.
Yeah. And tell me about you obviously got a good leadership team around you. How do you go about choosing and then retaining and your leadership team?
You get it wrong a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it is really difficult to admit you've made a mistake when you're appointing somebody.
Right.
But I think one of the keys is to make that decision really quickly, and not go through managers Watford Football Club style, but to actually acknowledge, okay, you know, when somebody comes in, you know, ideally you want to promote from within. You can't always do that, you know. So, for example, our new operations manager, we've recruited and brought her in from outside. The recruitment process is a lot of conversations. They're on their best behaviour. You know, so you rarely get to see the real individual, and a lot of it is kind of guesswork and gut instinct to make those appointments, and that doesn't always work. And you have to be honest and and very quickly say, sorry, this hasn't worked. You know, we've made the wrong decision. When you do get it right, it's also, it can become clear quite quickly. No, this is right. This is we talk about PJ person. You know, do they have the care, the compassion, the commitment that we're looking for from our staff? And it's more important at sort of the management level. So the senior management and the middle management, that they have to have that care and commitment, as you know, because otherwise the message the board are trying to push down just isn't going to get through. And we've had issues. You know, we have had issues where we've sometimes you appoint somebody and they can be in place for a couple of years, and something happens. They go off the boil, and they stop caring, or their commitment drops off. And again, you have to be brutal, because if you let that go on for too long, it
will affect your whole team, culture.
And they're big teams as well. You know, so with 600 staff but only 180 residents, you know, we're talking on a unit for 25 residents. We're looking at 60 or 70 staff to look after those 25 residents. So they're big teams. And you know, if something goes wrong with those teams, it can take a long time to get it settled down and stabilized again, and get them working all in the same direction to achieve the same thing. So it's it's not allowing bad apples to sit and fester for too long. And then, but when you do find somebody right, is then, you know, is looking after them.
Mm.
You know, and so look after the managers in the same way we look after the carers, in the same way we look after the residents.
Mm.
You know, we want them to have the best quality they can. It's not always about pay.
Mm.
You know, and some people will, you know, falsely assume, oh, the best way to look after somebody, I'll pay this manager, you know, 100K a year, and that shows, and let them get on with their job. No, that's not necessarily. Sometimes you can get away with 60 grand a year, but give them the support they need to do their job well, so they go home at the end of the day feeling good.
Yeah, I see.
And it's that kind of walking out of the door, how they feel when they walk out of the door at the end of the day, and how they wake up the following will dictate how they wake up the following morning, how they feel when they come into work the following morning. If they feel grumpy when they come into work, they're going to have a bad day.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a knock-on effect.
Well,
yeah.
Uh, I mean, never truer word has been said. I mean, I think that obviously what you're doing at PJ is, you know, everyone can say that, but I think that what obviously you're doing is that you've actually been able to successfully deliver on that.
Yeah.
Very
It's
but
not
I
easy.
understand there's mistakes you're always going to make. Learning from mistakes, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. You know, and allowing people to make mistakes as well. You know, I think that's important. So I don't, you know, if somebody gets something wrong, it's not the end of the world. You know, we've got a team around them to fix it. You know, and I'd much rather somebody got something wrong than did nothing. And then you can sit down and you sit down with them and you say, okay, this would have worked better if we'd done this. And they learn from it and they develop, and we all learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's perfect. You know, it's watching you know, watching a toddler learn to walk. They'll fall over more often than not, but eventually they stop falling over. They don't stop trying to walk. And that's but if you penalize every mistake too harshly, people will stop trying to walk. So it's about giving people that freedom and that to make a mistake. And I'm talking about genuine mistakes, not negligence. Yeah, and because there is a difference.
Yeah, no, of course there is. I think we want. Yeah, absolutely. I've got two more questions. One is, if I was to all specialist care operators listening, if there was one word of advice, on how to lead a successful specialist care operator, not one word, one message, underlying message that you've taken away, what would it be?
What would it be? Listen to everyone, then make your judgments, and don't be afraid to be challenged. In fact, encourage challenges. So when you make a decision, or you say, let's do this, encourage people to challenge the decision you've made, whatever it may be. Say, you know, because
can you give me an example of what you're saying?
Yeah, so if we're I don't know, talking about, say, something as simple as putting how many nurses are we going to have on duty during the day, you know, so actually affecting the operation of the company, you know, and I might say we're going to have 2 nurses in this home during the day. What I don't want is everybody to sit there and go, yes, Neil. What I want is somebody to turn around and say, we only need 1, and somebody else to say, well, actually, we're better off with 3, and have a good in-depth discussion, because at the end of the day, you're more likely to have the right answer if you've looked at more options. As the leader, there's a huge risk. People will just sit there and agree with whatever I say because I'm at the top of the tree. And I don't know everything.
Yeah.
You know, I firmly believe in that. You know, I've done every job in PJ Care sort of during my time here, from mopping floors to carrying out personal care to cooking meals, all the way through the accounts and payroll and everything else. I can do every job, but when I appoint somebody into those jobs now, I expect the people I appoint in those jobs to be better at it than me. And I think that's important. So, you know, appointing a specialist. And when we appoint a nurse, we're appointing a specialist. I expect them to be able to nurse better than I can. I'm not a nurse, so it's quite easy. You would think it's not always the case, but unfortunately. But I would expect, you know, if I appoint somebody to work in the accounts team, I expect them to be a better accountant than I am.
Yeah.
And to tell me when I'm wrong,
yes.
or when I'm not as right as I would like to be.
Yeah.
And it's a great story. Peter Ridsdale, chairman of Leeds Football Club, had a board of yes men, and Leeds won the championship, qualified for Europe, and he said, "Right, we're going to win the European Cup, and we're going to keep winning the league, and so therefore we're going to spend millions and millions of pounds buying lots of players." And everybody sat there and said, "Yes, Peter." And nobody said, "Well, what happens if we don't win the league? If we don't win the European Cup? If we don't qualify for Europe next year? What happens then? How do we get this money back?" Nobody asked that question.
I see. Yeah, it was a good example.
And they didn't. Yeah, and they didn't win, and they went bankrupt, and they got relegated and ended up in Division 3 or wherever they ended up. And it's so yeah. So I sit there and I say, I'll say something and wait for somebody to challenge me, and if they don't, I'll ask why not. Well, I want somebody to disagree with me. Make it up, even.
Yeah, great piece of advice. Good, wonderful. Neil, look, is there anything that I look in the PR marketing side, or as the being a leader, is there anything that you haven't said that you would want to make sure that you do say?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'd start kind of on the PR and marketing side. Know what you have a definite target. You know, what do you want to achieve with what you're doing, and spend the money trying to achieve that outcome. Because you know, it's if you can only afford to, if you've got 3 outcomes you want, and you can only afford to achieve one, then focus on one. Which one do you want to achieve? Which one is more important to you? Because if you don't focus on it properly and go out, it won't work. You know, everybody is trying to achieve those same outcomes, and you have to be as good as, if not better than, everybody else is out there. So when it comes to the PR and marketing, you know, we've chosen to focus on recruitment, and we have a red hot recruitment PR and marketing policy in place, and we're achieving everything we want to achieve with it. The kind of generalist, oh, let's just do a bit of everything and we'll be fine, which is what a lot of in-house marketing people will do. You've got a generalist marketer who's going to try and do a bit of everything. Doesn't work. So actually, yeah, focus on what are your pick 3 outcomes and focus on those. And if you can't afford to do the 3 properly, take it down to 2, take it down to 1, and then do the next one. I think that's what I would say.
That's great. Thank you. No, thank you so much. And just to wrap up, thank you so much for being on this episode. It's been a great episode. Thank you so much, Neil. Oh,
thanks,
I've got one more question. Sorry, no.
One more question. Oh, go on.
If people want to contact you, how can they do that? What's the best way to do that?
Oh, the best way to contact me is to email me, neil.russell@pjcare.co.uk. Open to emails, or LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Neil Russell, chairman of PJ Care. I'm on Twitter at SpratNeil. which is, yeah, long story behind that, but I won't go into too much detail now.
Well, they'll have to contact you to find out.
Yeah, the first thing they need to do though is when this comes out, is to vote for me.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Noted.
Social care top 30. Vote for Neil.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's in the notes. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks, Adam.